Until fairly recently, substance abuse has been viewed primarily as either a health problem or a law enforcement problem. It has not been seen as an issue of great importance in the workplace. However, lately it has become evident just how damaging substance abuse can be to the workplace, where it can affect employee health and safety, productivity, and health care costs. The National Institute on Drug Abuse reports that approximately 68% of all illegal drug users are employed, either full-time or part-time. In 1988, the federal government expressed its growing concern with drug use on the job through the establishment of the Drug-Free Workplace Act. This law requires covered employers to publish a statement alerting employees that the unlawful use, possession, distribution, dispensation, and manufacture of a controlled substance in the workplace is prohibited. It also requires that an awareness program be established to inform employees of the dangers of drug abuse, the company's drug-free workplace policy, any available drug counseling, rehabilitation, and employee assistance programs, and the penalties that may be imposed on employees for drug use violations. New York City Transit has long recognized substance abuse as a serious workplace problem. We continue in our commitment and efforts toward ensuring a safe work environment and protecting the well-being and health of our employees. Most recently, in February of 1994, the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, issued its final rule mandating drug and alcohol testing of employees who perform safety-sensitive functions. New York City Transit is required to comply with these regulations. This video addresses only the drug testing requirements of the FTA rule and does not cover drug testing that is required by internal transit policy, instructions, and/or collective bargaining agreements. The goal of our drug policy is improved safety for our customers and employees. This will be accomplished by reducing potential fatalities, personal injuries, and property damage stemming from accidents caused by employees whose judgment or motor skills may have been impaired through the use of controlled substances. Additionally, the policy will help New York City Transit to reduce absenteeism, improve productivity, reduce the costs of medical and insurance claims, and improve the general safety of our workplace and the well-being of our employees. Drug tests are conducted by analyzing an employee's urine specimen. The analysis is performed at laboratories that are certified and monitored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Federal Transit Administration regulations require that each urine specimen be analyzed for the presence of the following drugs or their metabolites: marijuana, cocaine, amphetamines, opiates such as heroin, morphine, codeine, and phencyclidine, commonly known as PCP. Additional drugs may be tested for under transit policy and/or collective bargaining agreements. Specimens are collected at locations that afford privacy for the employee. A chain of custody document is prepared for each specimen, and this paperwork will accompany the specimen when it is shipped to a certified testing laboratory. Each urine specimen is subdivided into 2 bottles, labeled as a primary and a split specimen. Only the primary specimen is opened and used for the urine analysis. The split specimen bottle remains sealed and is stored at the laboratory. If the analysis of the primary specimen confirms the presence of illegal controlled substances and the employee contests the finding, the employee has 72 hours to request that the split specimen be sent to another certified lab for analysis. This split specimen procedure provides the employee with an opportunity for a second opinion concerning the test results. Stringent specimen collection procedures and the documented chain of custody ensure that security, proper identification, and specimen integrity are not compromised. The testing is a 2-stage process. First, a screening test is performed. If it is positive for one or more of the targeted drugs, then a confirmation test is performed for each drug using state-of-the-art gas chromatography mass spectrometry analysis. This confirmation testing procedure ensures that first-stage results are accurate, and it safeguards against false positives. All drug test results are reviewed and interpreted by a physician or medical review officer, known as the MRO. If the laboratory reports a positive result to the MRO contacts the employee and conducts an interview to determine if there is an alternative explanation for a drug found in an employee's urine sample. For some drugs, there are limited, medically legitimate reasons for their use that may explain a positive result in a drug test. If the employee provides appropriate documentation and the MRO determines that the test reflected legitimate medical use of a drug, the test result is considered to be negative with regard to prohibited drug use. A safety-sensitive employee must be removed from safety-sensitive duty if he or she has a positive drug test result. The removal cannot take place until the MRO has interviewed the employee and determined that the positive drug test resulted from the unauthorized use of a controlled substance. An employee cannot be returned to safety-sensitive duty until he or she has been evaluated by a substance abuse professional, or MRO, has complied with a recommended course of rehabilitation, and has a negative result on a return-to-duty drug test. Follow-up testing to monitor the employee's continued abstinence from drug use may be required. All drug tests are confidential and can only be released to your employer and the substance abuse professional. An employee must give permission for anyone else to have access to his or her records. People don't check their substance abuse problems at the door when they enter the workplace. Nobody wants to believe that a friend or a coworker has a substance abuse problem. Subtle changes in behavior may be written off or disregarded because no one knows how or wants to confront the problem. But when behaviors or attitudes that diminish work performance are ignored or excused, workers who are harmfully involved with substance abuse are allowed to continue to be a risk to themselves, their coworkers, and the public. Specific questions regarding substance abuse policies and procedures relative to New York City Transit policies and contractual agreements for your title should be addressed to Labor Relations or your union representative. Please pay close attention to the training video you're about to view. It was designed specifically for New York City Transit employees who perform safety-sensitive functions. Please remember, maintaining a drug-free workplace is a responsibility we all share. Hi. Welcome to one of the healthcare facilities of the New York City Transit Authority. As you know, these facilities are here for the use of authority workers. They're part of the authority's commitment to the health and welfare of its working community, and an important part of its commitment to say no to drugs. Let's face it, we can't avoid the drug problem. It's all around us, a part of our lives. We read about it every day in the newspaper. We see it on television. It's in sports, in the entertainment industry, the military. It's in the factories and on Wall Street, in all walks of life. An average of 17% of all American workers are using drugs. Unfortunately, some of us have seen what it has done to our friends and, well, even to our own families. In industry, 40% of deaths from accidents and 47% of injuries can be linked to alcohol abuse alone. Drug abuse has become something we can't hide from. It is a disease infecting our lives.
In our offices, the volume of paperwork we handle can sometimes seem overwhelming. The quality of our work depends on a high degree of concentration, so a worker whose abilities are impaired by substance abuse produces a lower quality of work than the average employee. Since the quality of our work reflects on both us and our department, we shouldn't settle for anything less than the best we are able to do.
As a maintenance supervisor, I have seen the impact of drug and alcohol abuse in my own shop. I've seen the effects it has had on increased accidents and absenteeism, not to mention the lost jobs and lives it's wrecked. But for those seeking help, many have returned to become valuable and productive employees.
As a physician, I see one side of the substance abuse problem, the deleterious effects that it has on an employee's health, both mentally and physically. There may be damage done to the heart and circulatory systems, the lung and digestive system, and of course the earliest and most visible effects, that of changes in personality and mental capacity.
As a transit manager and former bus operator, one must take pride in their driving skills. I know that operating a bus requires that the driver must be in complete control of their faculties at all times. After 10 years on the road, believe me, I have seen that drugs and driving just don't mix. Frankly, the fact that over 50% of all automobile deaths involves alcohol abuse scares the hell out of me. Operating a bus is like the captain of a ship. Passenger safety is riding on you.
There probably isn't anyone who hasn't been affected by the drug problem. With what we've seen and experienced, it would be foolish of us to believe that we're immune to this disease here at the Authority. That's why the Authority has stepped in with this program. The Authority's policy is to have a workplace that is drug-free and to control and eliminate any abuse of alcohol. We can't ignore the problem and hope it will go away. People under the influence of drugs or alcohol jeopardize the safety of both our customers and our fellow workers. You and your fellow workers have a right to a safe workplace. And all of us at the Authority have a responsibility to our fellow employees to provide that safe workplace. You may be asking yourself, what is substance abuse? Well, put simply, it's using any substance to the point where it interferes with a part of your life, your marriage, your social life, your health, or your job. Any worker can have a problem with substance abuse. No company or organization is immune. Both men and women can be substance abusers, and it doesn't matter how old you are or what your job may be. It can take its toll on every worker. You know there are many different kinds of drugs. I'd like to talk about some of the most commonly abused drugs. Marijuana and its more concentrated cousin, hashish, are often underestimated and misunderstood as drugs of abuse. People use marijuana for its mildly tranquilizing effect. It may produce alterations in mood and perception. Marijuana smoke has a distinct, pungent aroma that may resemble a combination of sweet alfalfa and incense, or burnt rope. Some common signs of marijuana use include reddened eyes. Some users mask this symptom through frequent use of eye drops, a slowed rate of speech, chronic fatigue or tiredness. The individual may also exhibit a lack of motivation or interest in performing his or her job. Often, the distinctive aroma of marijuana smoke may cling to clothes or possessions. Marijuana and hashish use can cause many serious health effects. Chronic smoking may irritate and damage the lungs, eventually causing an emphysema-like condition. Marijuana use lowers the body's immune system response and increases overall susceptibility to illness and infection. Research indicates there may be a link between the use of marijuana and the activation of AIDS in positive HIV carriers. Chronic use of marijuana has been shown to decrease the level of testosterone, the male sex hormone. This causes a lowered sperm count and may result in temporary sterility. In women, chronic use increases testosterone levels and decreases fertility. marijuana use by pregnant women has been linked to pregnancy difficulties and birth defects. Marijuana is a psychologically addictive substance, and its use may become a difficult habit to break. When combined with alcohol or depressants, the effects of marijuana, as well as the other drugs being mixed, are amplified in a synergistic effect. Smoking marijuana and hashish may impair mental functioning as well. Regular use can cause inability in decision-making, a diminished capacity for concentration, impaired short-term memory, and impaired signal detection. This, of course, is a dangerous and risky impairment for operators of machinery and transit vehicles. Users may also experience distortions in time estimation. A long-term effect is known as chronic brain syndrome. This is characterized by distortions in memory, cognitive functioning, sleep, and physical condition. Regular marijuana use may cause a long-term deterioration in work performance. The active ingredients in marijuana are stored in the body fat and released slowly over time. Workers who are under the influence of marijuana while at the workplace suffer from impaired perception that may potentially lead to accident or injury. Cocaine and its concentrated derivative, crack, are powerful physical and mental stimulants that affect the central nervous system. They are the most powerful natural stimulant drugs known to man. An individual abusing cocaine may exhibit some or all of these signs. The pupils may be dilated, causing some visual difficulties or impairment. The nose may be red, runny, and irritated. The person may seem hyperexcited and overly reactive. Or they might exhibit an unusual degree of talkativeness and sociability. Cocaine users may have very fast and extreme mood swings. Another telltale sign is secretive behaviors such as furtive phone calls or frequent non-business visitors. Some of the more extreme signs of cocaine abuse include suspicious paranoid behavior and hallucinations. Cocaine and crack can cause severe health effects. Research suggests that regular use may affect the chemical balance of the brain. There is some evidence to suggest that it may cause irreparable damage to critical nerve cells, similar to an accelerated aging process. Cocaine and crack cause the heart to beat faster and harder and can cause sudden rises in blood pressure. This in turn may lead to a stroke or heart attack. Cocaine and crack are highly addictive drugs. Once an addiction has formed, it can be extremely difficult to overcome. Cocaine is especially dangerous when combined with depressants. In these cases, an overdose may quickly lead to death. The on-the-job performance of a cocaine abuser usually suffers and may result in serious consequences to the individual, co-workers, and the public. The user may suffer lapses in attention and miss or ignore warning signals that can prevent accidents. His or her work performance may be characterized by forgetfulness, absenteeism, tardiness, and missed assignments. Amphetamines, or uppers, are central nervous system stimulants that accelerate both physical and mental processes. An individual using amphetamines may exhibit some or all of these symptoms. Their pupils may be large and dilated. Their heart may beat rapidly and their blood pressure may be elevated. Similarly, their rate of respiration may become quite rapid. They might seem easily excited and exhibit an unusual degree of restlessness and an inability to sit still. In some cases, a person under the influence of amphetamines may begin to act in an aggressive manner. Amphetamine use poses a number of serious health risks. Regular use produces dependence on the drug. At the same time, the body develops a tolerance and higher doses are required to achieve the same effect. High doses sometimes cause a toxic psychosis, a severe reaction resembling schizophrenia. The sharp spike in blood pressure from amphetamine use may induce a heart attack or a stroke. Chronic and repeated use of amphetamines may lead to heart damage and brain damage. Another serious health effect is due to the euphoria some users feel. They become increasingly impulsive and can exhibit risky, bizarre, and violent behavior. Amphetamine abuse can have an adverse effect on an employee's work performance. After the drug is worn off, the hangover is characterized by physical fatigue and depression. In this state, the operation of equipment and vehicles is dangerous. Opiates are narcotic drugs that reduce pain and depress physiological functions. Examples of this type of drug are heroin, morphine, and codeine. Common signs of opiate use include small constricted pupils, a lack of coordination and balance, an inability to think clearly and a lack of alertness, sudden mood swings, and a depressed and apathetic manner. The health risks from narcotics include the risk of contracting HIV or hepatitis by injecting the drug with a contaminated needle. Users often develop a physical and mental dependency. This class of drugs is highly addictive. When combined with other depressant drugs or with alcohol, the effects of narcotics are amplified. This puts the user at an increased risk of an overdose. Opiate use in the workplace may produce unwanted side effects such as nausea, vomiting, dizziness, a reduced level of alertness and drowsiness that increases the potential for on-the-job accidents and injuries. Obviously, the mental and physical impairment from narcotics would make operation of equipment or vehicles very dangerous. Phencyclidine, or PCP, acts as a depressant, a hallucinogenic, and sometimes as a stimulant. Under the influence of PCP, a person may exhibit a number of physical signs and symptoms. Their pupils may become dilated. They may exhibit a lack of coordination and may complain of dizziness. The effects on behavior can be very dramatic. Under PCP, an individual may undergo extreme swings in mood and seem severely confused and disoriented. Sometimes their behavior may become unpredictable or even bizarre. The user may become highly agitated, aggressive, and combative. Numerous incidents of extreme violence under the influence of PCP have been documented. The health risks from PCP can be as extreme as some of the behaviors it is noted for inducing. The effect of PCP on the mental functions, coupled with its anesthetic property, make its users liable to suffer or cause injuries while under the influence. Overdosing is also common. PCP can cause irreversible damage, including memory loss, personality changes, and cognitive disorders. PCP may trigger an acute toxicity that may last up to 3 days. Symptoms include perceptual distortions of size, shape, and distance. Other effects may include convulsions and coma. Sometimes acute toxicity is followed by toxic psychosis. In this phase, users may experience visual and auditory hallucinations, paranoia, and agitation. Following acute psychosis, a user may enter a schizophrenic state that may last more than a month. A reaction to PCP is a period of depression characterized by suicidal tendencies and mental dysfunction. This depression may last for months. Obviously, this substance is very dangerous no matter where it is taken. Using 2 or more drugs together is extremely dangerous. The results are often unpredictable. Drugs like alcohol, taken in combination with other drugs, can demonstrate a new math in which 1 + 1 = 5 or 6 times the expected combined effect of the 2 drugs. This includes combinations of illegal drugs, prescribed drugs, tranquilizers, even cold medications. And combining alcohol with depressants, cocaine, or marijuana can be especially dangerous. Why do we need to be so concerned about all this on the job? Let's take a look. Substance abuse affects you even if you don't use drugs. They create safety problems. Problems for everyone here at the Authority.
In the workplace, the effects of substance abuse on one Authority worker has an impact on all of us. We've talked about how it affects the individual, but what happens on the job?
Substance abuse can cause impaired eyesight. This might mean blurred, double, or multiple vision, difficulty in following objects, poor side vision, or even hallucinations. It can mean slower reaction time and much slower reflex actions, the inability to focus on a task long enough or carefully enough to complete it. A worker abusing drugs might show poor judgment because he or she is overconfident and unable to weigh the consequences of carelessness. Or a worker's poor coordination and balance would make it impossible to perform even the most simple tasks.
Our attitude towards substance abuse is changing dramatically. Behavior that may have been accepted by many in the past is now being rejected. We have to fight against drug abuse, at home and at our jobs. This is why management and labor at the Authority are stepping in with a major united effort against drugs in our workplace. They're concerned for the welfare of their workers and are committed to their ongoing fight against drugs.
All employees must understand the value of their individual contributions to the Authority and how the entire organization suffers when any one of us is experiencing a substance abuse problem. Substance abuse destroys work performance.
Don't let anyone kid you, and don't kid yourself. Drug abuse destroys your ability to do a good job.
Substance abuse affects productivity. The amount of work completed is reduced because of missed work days, and less work is done while on the job. The quality of the work that is done is poor because of impaired skills and poor judgment. People working together make life more pleasant and productive. Substance abuse destroys that good working atmosphere. It also interferes with concentration and judgment. Most of us want to do a good job. An abuser cares more about just getting through another day and less about his job. In addition to this, a drug habit can make severe financial demands on people. This can lead to stealing on the job. Neither you nor the Authority can afford to ignore drugs on the job, and it's important to get help before there's an accident or incident. The federal government has adopted regulations which require us to take a series of steps to ensure a drug-free environment. Under our drug testing program, the odds of a substance abuser being caught are high. Chances are you will get caught if you don't get help. An employee may receive a drug test under the following circumstances: pre-employment, following an accident, upon reasonable suspicion of substance abuse, a random drug test, or return to duty follow-up testing. Other tests may be required by transit policy and/or collective bargaining agreements. The Authority's primary concerns are for the safety and well-being of its long-term employees. For these employees, the Authority is making a commitment to rehabilitation and keeping their jobs secure. The Authority is here with help when you need it. If you are a probationary employee and you test positive, you will be dismissed. The Authority will maintain confidentiality of all test results. All other disclosures require written authorization by the person being tested. When you ignore the problem of substance abuse, you contribute to the problem. When you ignore a problem you've seen, you enable someone to continue abusing drugs. Both you and your fellow workers are endangered. You have a responsibility to take action. Because we care, we offer help. You can get help through several programs. There are Authority employee assistance programs as well as union assistance programs available to Authority workers. In addition to these, you can get help through your own doctor or self-help groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Remember, we can help, and you can get help confidentially through these agencies and other social service organizations. The Authority wants to protect its assets. You, the employees of the Authority. Keep the Authority workplace safe, healthful, and efficient. Learn more about substance abuse. Get help for yourself if you need it, or encourage others to take advantage of the programs available to them.
We know there's a problem, and that there's something we can all do about it. Beat the drug problem now, from the beginning. We must work for and settle for nothing less than a drug-free workplace. It's up to you.